Wow. So that actually kind of is a good little segue to, to a question that I've been asking all the subjects of these Music Mentor series, which is when you were kind of getting your I don't know, I guess your influences figured out. I always ask people, what was the first record that you bought with your own money, and not specifically the first record that maybe your cousin had given you or whatever, which is important too, and you can talk about that if something like that happened. But I always feel like that moment when you as a music fan,
Yeah,
as a young music fan, has actively decided that the small amount of money that you've been able to save or
yeah,
whatever it was, gets put into an actual purpose, like what that first thing was. I always felt was
yeah.
cool.
No, that's a great question, and I'll actually include because this the first thing I did was uh, I did chores, extra chores around the house for extra allowance, and I saved up for a J.C. Penney Walkman. And it was really just having that portable tape player and the headphones. It was like $70, and this was 1981 maybe. I was in third grade. I was just like, I need to have one of these things. I saw the ads for the Walkmans, and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I can just have my own music in my ears. And so I saved up for that, and then I saved up after I got that. I saved up for two tapes, and the first tape was Journey Escape.
Awesome. And what
Yeah,
was the second one? Because
the
that's,
second one was Foreigner 4, which had Jukebox Hero on it, and just great songs. And so I was into that. I was a classic rock kid at that time. So although I didn't know it was classic rock, it was just rock. Uh, and so those are my first two tapes. And those two tapes, when my family just after that, my dad got a job working in Sacramento, and we were living in Utah at the time in Salt Lake City. And so we moved from Salt Lake to Davis. And that move, I had the Walkman and I had the two tapes. So it was like the road trip. The whole time I was just listening to those tapes over and over and over and over again.
your brother tried to fight you for it. It's like,
No,
come on.
I mean, it was mine. I paid for it. You can listen to whatever you want. I don't know. You didn't have
Did he
one.
have did he have one too?
No.
Poor Brett.
Yeah. He was hanging out with the folks while I was in my own rock and roll world. Cranking Escape and Foreigner 4. And then the third tape I bought once we moved to Davis, as soon as I got some money, I bought The Fix, Reach the Beach.
Oh, yeah.
And
It's a great triple threat.
yeah, and that's a great album, and it's pretty underrated. I mean, they just toured last year, and I saw them at the Independent, and they killed it. They were amazing.
Wow.
Um, so those were the first three tapes, and then from there, it kind of went on to Depeche Mode and Duran Duran and that kind of stuff in
Yeah,
the
you
50s.
moved out of the classic rock into the
Yeah.
wavy scenario. That's kind of a familiar trajectory. I was in a similar one, kind of started with, you know, hey, look,
Do you have your Sunset Sound System sticker on it?
fact. There you go. See,
No way, Sunset Sound System. Cheers to them.
indeed, our buddies. No, that's kind of brings me back to that, just that vibe of when you're younger, you kind of tend to you start with what your parents were into, and
Yeah.
that sort of blossomed into something else. It's inevitable that you have the classic rock phase, although, like you said, at the time, you don't really call it. We didn't. I don't know when did the term classic rock even come about. Probably not even until like the '90s.
Yeah, just the 90s, really.
It had to take some time to go from just rock to being classic.
Okay.
After we had all those different, uh, iterations of it. I certainly had my punk phase and my metal phase and my new wave phase
Yeah.
and classic rock phase, and then I think when I heard Jane's Addiction, it was when like I saw that all those things could come together and be a one band that I thought was great, and that set me off at a whole new realm.
Yeah, no doubt about
And
that.
T-shirt. Oh yeah. Well, awesome. All
Hey,
right. So
sorry, I wanted to tell a story about kind of the Walkman and just kind of having the music in the ears and how.
please, I thought that had you'd already moved on, but no, please.
Yeah,
Allow
just
you.
there's just something about like being just in that world of music without hearing anything else outside of it. And I always craved that. Even as a kid, I would lay down on the floor. I would put my bed on the floor, and my two speakers from my little York's stereo system, I would put them next to my ears and sleep through with the radio on. and I just always wanted to have music in my ears. When we would go on, family vacations, I would be in the back seat, just, we'd be along the California coast, and I'd have Duran Duran in my ears, and I would just imagine that I was in the video and I was lip syncing, and in the car with the family. They probably thought I was just the biggest weirdo, but I just always had these feelings like, this is it just made things so much more significant and important. I was just very strange. But there was one experience that I just really wanted to share, because you were asking earlier before we started recording about certain significant events in your life that kind of made you more feel more and closer to music and feel more important. Music was more important. And this is a story I may have told you before, but there's a Phil Collins song called Mama, and it was on the radio, and I was sleeping, like I mentioned, on the ground with the speakers on each side of me. And there's a part in the song, excuse me, where he starts laughing kind of maniacally. He's like, ha ha ha, wow. This is kind of how it sounds. And I was,
It's weird. I've checked it out.
I can feel you, mama, but I know it's much too late. That song. It's a very groovy song, but it goes into this weird trippy part with his keyboards, and he starts laughing all weird. And I remember I was dreaming, and I was having a dream where there was a teacher, and the teacher was kind of like reprimanding me about something. And then all of a sudden the teacher started laughing, all like, ha, 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 and I was like, whoa, it's scary. And I woke myself up, and I heard that same laugh coming through the speakers from the Phil Collins song. And I was probably maybe fifth or sixth grade. And I realized that, like, there's a connection between your conscious and your subconscious, and that even while I was sleeping, the music was having an effect on even my dreams,
Wow.
because that laughter was permeated into my dreams, and the teacher started making that laugh, and I woke up and that laugh was happening on the speakers, and it blew my mind. I was
Amazing
like,
that you
I was like,
found
music is so cool. It can actually just bump into your dreams and affect your dreams even. And it also just created this moment where I realized that there's this connection between the conscious and the subconscious, because it was kind of a little bit lucid, even without me forcing it. The lucid dreaming happened because of the music I was listening to.
so
So
wild.
yeah, so that was like a very significant moment in my life growing up, where I was just like, music is the thing. Like
Yeah, well, truly. Yeah, that's awesome. I always have a hard time remembering my dreams, but I could see how that one, you can't forget that. That's wild.
yeah, exactly. So I did want to mention that because
I'm glad
it
you
was
did.
so
Yeah,
significant.
you haven't told me that story. I figured
Oh,
out all the times we've chitted and chatted about music that I would have come up, but that's pretty cool.
oh, new story for you.
I love it. See, it's good.